Have you ever found yourself wondering how a Pokemon got its name? You may be surprised on the true meaning and lore of how Pokemon are named in the Pokemon universe. And no, I'm not talking about the names that game developers gave Pokemon during the creation of the series and subsequent new generations. I'm talking about how if the Pokemon world was real, how are Pokemon named, and who gave them those names? This idea is similar to how we would name a new species on Earth or classify a new species in a specific category of animals. But things get tricky when factoring in both the games themselves and the anime counterpart. While the average viewer of the Pokemon anime may just think, well, the Pokemon say their names, so it's obvious. That doesn't explain why in the Pokemon games, Pokemon don't say their names, but instead utter a distinct cry, with the only exceptions being Pikachu and Eevee. First, I want to discuss the anime itself, then move on to the games, and then tie things together all at the end. This all begs the question, how do Pokemon get their names? The Pokemon anime wasn't originally supposed to have Pokemon say their own names, but instead have them make sounds like any regular animal would. In a 2017 interview with Junichi Masuda on this matter, he said, "We weren't really sure about it, but it worked out. The idea to have Pokemon say their own names was a decision made by the production company OLM Inc. So while the Pokemon company had the rights to the series, the company producing the anime were the ones who pushed for Pokemon to say their own names. This implies Game Freak wanted the Pokemon cries that we hear in the games, or something similar, but decided to agree with the production company after voice testing studio sessions. Let's also take note that in the Pokemon anime, real-life animals are shown who aren't Pokemon. This means that Pokemon are an entirely different kingdom of their own, meaning that all 809 Pokemon are 809 different species. But they still all share the same kingdom, kinda like how lions and cheetahs are two different species but are part of the cat kingdom. I won't get scientific here, but let's simplify things instead so people can understand. Taxonomy is how scientists classify organisms into different groups based on the characteristics they have. So for Pokemon, the kingdom that they are in is Pokemon. As we move down the chart, we get more and more specific, which leads us to 809 different species. Think of it like this, there are several rat Pokemon, so they'd be classified as part of the rat kingdom. As you look more closely at each individual Pokemon, that's when we can separate things such as their typings and physical features, and also separate, let's say, an Alolan Rattata from a Pat Rat. The name for the Rattata and the name for the Pat Rat would be the name of the species. Relating this all back to animals in the Pokemon world, both animals and Pokemon are a part of different kingdoms, and how they're named and are classified depends on whatever system is used in the Pokemon universe. Okay, with all this science talk out of the way, let's move on to how Pokemon are named in the video games. With 809 different Pokemon, each Pokemon gets their own unique name, but who exactly names them? It's likely that the Pokemon professors of each region are responsible for naming new Pokemon, seeing as though the Pokemon professors and their aides are responsible for finding new Pokemon to add to the Pokédex. Each time a new Pokemon is found, that's when they're named. Since no other animals besides Pokemon appear in the games, that's what makes things less complicated than the anime like we previously discussed, but a whole other can of worms is open when thinking about how these individual names of all 809 Pokemon are thought of. For some Pokemon, their names can easily be explained, but for others not so much. A Pokemon like Mr. Mime, for example, is clearly named based off a mine which we know exists in the Pokemon universe. But things get tricky when we look at Pokemon like Seal, who is clearly based off a seal, yet as previously noted, there are no known mention of regular animals in the Pokemon video games. So how would a seal-looking Pokemon be named Seal if there are no seals in the first place? That's a tongue twister and a deep thought, which actually leads me to my final portion of the video where I intertwine the anime video games in the real world. Let me remind you of the original question. If the Pokemon world was real, how are Pokemon named, and who gave them those names? Well, if we combine everything I've mentioned so far and factor in the real world of how Pokemon are named, it's quite simple. Using etymology, which is the study of the origin of words, and adding in aspects previously discussed such as animals existing in the Pokemon universe plus more, we can find out how Pokemon are named. Let's quickly run through a few examples to give you an idea how etymology works in Pokemon. Resources to this will be in the description below as well. Hitmonchan is based off 3 words, Hit, Mon, and Chan. Hit meaning to strike, Mon as in monster, and Chan based off the martial arts actor Jackie Chan. Sharpedo is based off 2 words, shark and torpedo. Sharks are large voracious fish, and torpedoes are a weapon used underwater. Crocodile is based off 2 words, crook and crocodile. A crook is a criminal or thief, and a crocodile is a species of reptile. Looking at all 3 of these Pokemon, it's clear that the origin of their names are based off real-life animals, items, or people. Many other Pokemon have different origins other than just people and animals, making the naming of Pokemon unique and specific to each Pokemon. Even when bringing together all of these aspects from the anime, video games, and real world, I still believe a Pokemon professor or scientist would be responsible for naming Pokemon, much like how real scientists name real animals too. Animals' names often take reference from ancient words and languages, so I have no doubt Pokemon names would follow suit in that regard. All in all, Pokemon get their names from a variety of outlets, and while the Pokemon anime, video games, and more may differ on the origin of the name itself, There's no doubt that the Pokemon are all given their own unique and distinguishable name. Well, do you agree on how Pokemon are named, or do you have another take on this theory? Leave me a comment below, I'd love to hear. Also, while you're down there, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and share the video with anyone you know. I'll be back with more Pokemon theories later, but until next time, see you later, for alligators.